Welcome to the Shoot It Straight podcast.
Welcome everybody to our little show here.
Our little show.
Our little show here.
A little ditty.
Yeah.
We've got a little ditty today.
Okay. I don't know what that means, but okay.
Well, I don't know. You know, like a little story. Like we're gonna do a little ditty on the topic today is a good one. And I want everyone to know that we haven't really thought, or I personally truly haven't thought much about my responses, so it's gonna be like a little off the cuff.
Well, I got two to lead us off, and then you can kind of listen to me ramble and maybe let the gears of creativeness flow in your head.
I think it's good to kind of sometimes come at it from just like what comes to the top of our head. And today we're going to cover basically the topic of today is exercises that we no longer do in the gym.
Correct.
But we're also going to just generally talk about exercises that don't really serve a lot of purpose.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to define it, what we're going to do today.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something I did this week in a post. I always forget these podcasts come out a little bit later, so it's a post whenever you hear this. It'll be from weeks ago, but it gained a lot of traction, a lot of engagement. So a pretty hot topic when you talk about things not to do in the gym anymore that kind of gets people fired up. So,
are you going to start for real?
Yeah, you want me to go ahead and get right into it?
Yeah, I mean, I already kind of have one, but it's not even related to the exercise portion of things to do at the gym.
All right, well, I kind of want to preface this by saying a couple things. There's not a lot of bad exercises out there. I think one thing you really want to look at when you are thinking about the exercise you're about to do is the risk versus the reward of the exercise. All right. And I made an analogy to like a financial thing about this the other day. So I'm gonna go ahead and ramble on about that. So my first exercise I'm gonna talk about is the burpee. And the burpee itself has a pretty low reward, okay, for what you're gonna get out of it. You're not gonna get really any strength out of it. You won't get any power. There's no mobility. It will, if you do enough of them, it's just gonna make you tired. So I guess you could say it's a form of cardio. So that's as far as I'll go with that. So when you think about that, the reward of that is pretty low. And every exercise has a risk, yes. Right? So doing the burpee, doing it aggressively, doing it for very high volume, you could do a few things. You could damage your wrists, your toes, your feet, your knees, and your low back, and your shoulders. So if you think about all those risks associated with that, and I'm not trying to say that the burpee is the most dangerous exercise on earth, because it's not, but you take that amount of risk, which is relatively low still, with also, I would say, little to no reward. And that just doesn't balance itself, right? Like, why would we take any risk for a very low reward? Kind of like in finance. We don't want to buy something that we knowingly doesn't have a high value for what we're paying for. We would never pay like a low, pay for something that has a lower value than what we're going to pay for it, right? So why would we do that with something in fitness where like the risk is higher than the reward? All right? Kind of follow me there?
I'm following you, but I think we need to people think that it's valuable. That's the problem.
Right, and I'm going to break down why I think it's not.
Okay,
too.
So I think we just need to talk about that.
But I think that's with a lot of the other exercises too that we can go into.
People buy greens powders for $80.
Correct.
It's like, oh, I'm going to turn into like a superhuman because it has the word superfood on it.
Right.
Fuck off. No, it's not going to do anything extra for you.
Yeah. So the first exercise we'll talk about is the burpee. And what was shocking to me is when I posted this the other day, I had hundreds and hundreds of comments, and there were quite a few of them that were defending it, telling me I didn't know what I was talking about,
okay,
and like just kind of laughing at the fact that you could hurt your toes. People thought that was the funniest thing ever. You could hurt your toes, but if you've ever injured your toe, it really fucking sucks.
But wait, why are people so for the burpee?
I think people have an emotional attachment to something.
Okay.
Right? Like if they've done something for so long.
Yeah. Okay.
That you end up kind of believing in it. Right? And like you don't want to think that this thing you've done for so long that you now have an attachment to, that you maybe think now that you're wasted time doing and it wasn't beneficial, you're kind of pissed off. So you refuse to believe that. I think that's where it comes from.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm curious if you heard any like good responses of like why, like you said, you got hundreds of comments. Like,
yeah,
was there one or two like solid reasons why the burpee is effective for that person?
No, I didn't think there were any solid ones. No, what a lot of people were saying is that it provides variety in your workouts. That if you have limited equipment, that it is a great cardio option. Most people were like kind of laughing at that it can hurt you. But then my response to that was like, okay, we'll take away the injury part of it aside, because I'll go ahead and concede that there is a relatively low risk to injuring yourself. But again, the value's not there for doing them. So I think that a lot of these people were coming from CrossFit backgrounds. And even one was a CrossFit Games athlete that commented. He was kind of rude, so I blocked him. But
that tracks.
he called me a diaper baby if I thought.
What does that mean?
I don't know, I don't know.
Very young baby.
And I went and saw his profile. He was like a very religious athlete, so I guess that was his way of making fun of me. But not going too far outside of the lines of it. I'll probably get in trouble for saying that. But he called me a diaper baby. So anyways, but I just blocked him because I didn't have time to fuck with that. But
oh my God.
So the only reason I think someone should actually do an exercise like the burpee is if you are training for a sport like a CrossFit, High Rocks, Spartan, DECA, where it's actually required in the sport, right? So like you've got to be decently good at them or you're going to fall behind in that. I don't want to call it a skill, but you will fall behind if you don't practice them. But if you are not trying to compete in any of those things, there are so many better ways to exercise than doing the burpee.
Yeah, and I think the thing I want to add with the burpee is that it is really effective at fatiguing you. Like that is where, like, if that's what your goal is to do, and that would be specific to the High Rocks, to the exercise competition type sports that are out there, then like that's it. But like the other piece to keep in mind, while the burpee may not injure you, being very fatigued from doing the burpee and then coupling that with whatever exercise it's typically coupled with, because we're not doing 3 sets of 10 with 5-minute breaks in between for burpees. Yeah. They are never programmed like that.
No.
It is do 30 plus
and then immediately do something else.
Go into heavy X or running or whatever. And we're just fucking dogging ourselves. And like, again, the people out there that think that the harder that your lungs are burning, the more effective a workout is, we're here to tell you that that is not the truth, which is why the efficacy of a burpee in a workout program for most people doesn't make sense.
Right. And so then some other arguments were, well, it's a great pushing exercise. They're throwing.
Okay, well, that's if you're doing it incorrectly.
Well, here I'm going to break it all down, but they basically said, hey, it hits all these things. That, like, what is wrong with doing a push, a hinge, a squat, and a little hop? I was like, okay.
You're sprawling. Nobody knows how to sprawl correctly.
Right.
It's not pushing. We're not doing push-ups for volume.
Right. I was like, well, if that's the case, that's still a very terrible version of all of those skills they're trying to come up with. I was like, if you are trying to do, if you were, instead of doing 30 burpees, what I would tell someone to do would just do 30 of each one of those movements that you think that the burpee is doing for you and load it correctly. And if you want to do it fast, you could do it with just body weight. So maybe it's 30 jumping jacks, 30 hip hinges, 30 air squats, and 30 push-ups. I would much rather see someone do that than doing 30 burpees.
Because it's all going to be sloppy. It's the whole like chase 2 rabbits, catch none. But you're chasing like 98 rabbits. You got cardiovascular fatigue. You're getting dizzy. Like there's just a lot of components to the burpee.
Yeah.
The multiple like movements that happen are within it. But again, yeah, you're not really, hinge. I don't know how to define a sprawl, but yeah, most people do it in like I'm squatting down really slow and I'm doing this awkward push up. Blows your shit up, by the way. If you've ever done burpees and haven't done them in a long time and then do them, you're so sore in your chest afterwards. Yeah. It's like, and that's also another part of it too. Like you're going to get very tired and fatigued and it's going to last for a long time. It's just going to kind of like the benefits, the return is like
low,
very low, if not reverse.
Yeah.
Because you're really just kind of fucking yourself for your other movements or other workouts later in the week or whatever.
Yeah. This post, I think I ended up blocking quite a few people because I just don't have the time to. And then people actually started trolling me too. I don't know if I'm getting to, if our account is getting like a little bit bigger. So people then start going to my other posts and start commenting on those. And I'm like, oh my God, you're the same guy harassing me on this burpee post and I've just got to block you. And a couple people were calling me. I was like, oh, you just can't do them. You're a bitch or something like that. Like you can't hang. And I was like, okay. And I just didn't take the time. But do you remember when we did DECA? Like, I'm good at burpees.
Honey, it's
like,
okay. We don't have to defend ourselves.
I want to. I want to.
I think when we get defensive, it turns into like a little bit of like we have to prove ourselves. And we're really just trying to educate.
Well,
You are great at
I
burpees.
overcame this guy on the last station at Deca race to beat him in my
You are
heat
good at them.
because I'm good at burpees, not because I am a bitch and don't want to do them. I
I
just
know,
think
but
they're
I
stupid.
think we're defeating the purpose in telling people that they're pointless, and then we're turning around and saying that we're good at them.
They're just not hard. Like they are pointless. Like you're not getting anything out of them. Like
I hear you, and I think that you are good at them, and that's great. But the point of this episode is that they're pointless. So let's not tell people that we're also really great at them.
well, because they were a part of the sport I used to do, and I don't do that sport anymore, so I don't need them. So I don't put them in my training, and I've never ever programmed a golfer to do them.
Right. And that's it. I mean, the folks that want to get strong, that want to have a good looking physique, the folks that want to have better mobility, like all the things that you said at the beginning of this conversation, and our golfer athletes, we definitely don't want to be doing burpees.
Yeah. Oh, one more. This guy. So there were tons of comments. They were good. Two guys said this. They were like, "Well, what's so wrong about doing a functional exercise that involves going down to the ground and getting back up?" I was like, "Well, in that case, then any exercise that you go down to the ground and come back up would be deemed functional. Like just because you call it functional doesn't mean it's good."
Yeah, the functional word has been over. We've talked about this before.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately like I get the word functional a lot, but then it's overused.
Yeah.
It's overused because our bodies can do all kinds of things. So
Yeah.
what makes
Without practicing them, like, do I need to do bicep curls to get the function of getting my fork into my mouth, or do I need to do some external shoulder rotation and wiping motion to wipe my butt? Like, we don't need
snatching things over your head.
Yeah.
It's an amazing, awesome.
Yeah.
By the way, those Olympic athletes, like whoa.
Yeah.
But yeah, like let's just
we don't need all this function.
Like Granny doesn't need to be functional with her 100-pound body weight, snatch.
Yeah.
Like it's probably but it's still an awesome exercise. So it's like those two things don't. Yeah, I think specificity is just like an important thing here in this topic today.
Yeah.
I would think we've harped enough on the burpee. We get that you're passionate about it. I appreciate that you're passionate about it. I too, like, listen, like, just to wrap it up. I mean, I liked burpees too. I used to crush them too. Like because I was a cardio bunny. So I was also like pretty decent and efficient at them. But I just don't do them anymore. I don't need them like anymore at all. So like, I just don't want to do them because I can't possibly do anything else after them well. And right now it's about like getting strong and, even improving like my, I do need to kind of ramp my cardio fitness up a little bit, which I'm going to start focusing on as it's springtime, and it'll be a little easier to do that, but I'm not going to be introducing burpees to do that.
No. Good on the burpee.
Yeah, they make you very sore, and yes, they can beat you up. And again, if you're doing them right, you're collapsing your body weight onto the ground. Actually, you're smacking your shit on the ground multiple times.
Oh yeah.
And you're jumping up. So
you're almost like bouncing off the bottom, like and like flop, but like
your arms are like less.
Yeah, you like
fatigued.
rebound off the ground, like, and
it's
then
almost
jump
like
back up.
Kipping type thing, but like kind of. Anyway, I'm gonna throw us for a curveball, but this has been on my mind for a long time since we've been in like the Globo gym space.
Mm-hmm.
After training at home for a really long time, is the cameras all over the place. I'm over it. And that's the exercise that I would like to not see at the gym. And I don't even have to talk that much about it, but I'm just going to say that I'm tired of dodging people's tripods in the gym because it's obnoxious. And someone else that posted about it, his name is Ben Carpenter. He has a huge following on Instagram. He had a great video. I reposted it yesterday. And he kind of broke it down. He's like, listen, like I film in the gym. I get it. I get content creation. I get it if you're sending something to your coach. But like when you are in the background of like multiple people's videos and they're constantly doing it, every movement, every workout, it really is insane. And that we see it at our gym a little bit or a lot of it sometimes. And like, I can't help but think like when we were at Crunch, like we saw the same thing there, and it's kind of probably just it's so everywhere. It's wild. It's wild. And I also just don't want to be in people's content. Like I don't want to be on someone's phone in the background, like 24/7.
So what am I supposed to do?
Listen, like, I mean, it's about angles. It's about making sure there's not a lot of people around when you're doing it. If there are a lot of people around, like nobody should have to be like dodging their camera or worrying about where it's being pointed. Like it's obnoxious. I don't like it. That's my opinion on it. That's it.
I feel you. I mean, I've noticed that there's quite a few people at our gym now that are doing what I do and bring in a videographer.
And our gym allows it, right? So it's like, okay, like they are allowing it. And so that's their rule. Like that's their stance on it. And so maybe the future is gyms that have different rules around it. Like it really is just one of those like, you know, you have women's gyms and men's gyms or whatever. And like maybe there's just going to be like camera free gyms.
My old boss,
It's
Evan,
wild.
he works at a gym down in Florida, or a chain of gyms down in Florida. And one of the gyms they just opened has a whole area dedicated to people creating social media content.
I mean, I like that. So that is, and the other areas are you're probably not really allowed to do much. Like I would assume if you have a dedicated space that it's just like, it's not even, I don't even know for me. It's not like a privacy thing for me, but like, it is just kind of like, it's weird sometimes to be in people's videos. And sometimes people ask you to film them. And it's like, what if everybody fucking did that? Like you get asked that like every once in a while. And it's just like, damn, like this is like our safe gym space. Like, I don't know, like it's just turning into like this thing. And I just, you know, again, I think if you're Olympic weightlifting, I get when you're sending form videos, but there's just a lot of bodybuilding and like bicep curls and pull-ups. I'm like, we're not sending videos to coaches like for our form. Like this is for all content and it's crazy.
Yeah.
So that's the move that I would like to see removed from the gym.
Yeah. I mean, whenever I do it, I do always try to be as courteous as possible, and I try to be as quick as possible. I usually go in times of the day when there's not a lot of people around, but you know, I mean, it's what I do to earn a living.
I mean, I get people have the social media. I mean, we obviously have to put stuff on the internet. I think it's just being respectful and knowing that like that's the second or tertiary like thing to like the main thing is people being respected. And if someone doesn't want to be filmed, they should have the right to not be.
100%.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I definitely, I try as much as I can to not put someone in my video and get up against a wall or whatever it is as much as I can. So,
yeah, I mean, again, our gym allows it. I think it's about respect. It's just kind of like, it's that fine line where people just don't care and abuse the privilege to be able to do it maybe. And
yeah,
don't really think about other people.
I mean, I go to Crunch too, and at Crunch, I can't even think of a time. So I've been going to Crunch the past couple months to do like my sauna and my Zone 2 and things like that. Like people don't, maybe they outlawed it at Crunch because I don't think I've seen it at Crunch at all.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, I did when we were there.
Yeah, I haven't seen it at all since I've been there.
Maybe because you're only doing your Zone 2 there.
Maybe, but anyways, so back to the topic of things that we no longer do in the gym.
I no longer also do compound movements. But this is old school. Obviously, this isn't like recent. I used to do things like squat into a bicep curl and like all of those types of things.
Okay. You like made me roll my eyes. I was like, what do you mean compound?
Exercises, compound movements. Like that's what they used to kind of be called a little bit. You would do like multiple. So, you know, you would do your lunge into a bicep curl, like all that stupid full body, like light dumbbell shit, because obviously your lower body is a little bit stronger than your upper body. And so you're not really getting the benefit of either or. It kind of goes back to the burpee thing where you're missing out on the specificity piece. Like, sure, you're moving your body around. Sure, it's better than nothing. Sure, you know, I can see some senior citizen type older grannies doing movements like that would probably be helpful for them just because they're picking up some weight and moving. But like at the end of the day, you're not really getting a lot out of that stuff. And I would say like I haven't done anything like that in a very, very long time. But like I used to, like a long time ago. Used to think that was the titties. Everyone like was doing that stuff. I think you still see it on Instagram probably.
Oh, there's tons of golfers that still do it. So when you said compound, I was like, what do you mean? Like
not the compound lifts like squats.
So I think it's like
deadlifts.
Compounded lifts, like where you're like multi lifts into one or something like that.
Yeah,
like
just
a Frankenstein lift.
Like just multiple exercises into one.
I mean, I think like, there's golfers that do it all the time. Like they'll do some like it'll be usually on a Bosu ball too, which is ridiculous in itself. And then they'll do some kind of a lunge, bicep curl, overhead press.
Really?
Two-step lunge would be like a step back, or like a lunge, step up on a Bosu ball, bicep curl press, and they'll call it a PGA Tour level workout. Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff. So, or they'll call it a strength workout, which
Ooh,
No, I think at best case scenario you would call that
coordination,
maybe on a good day. I don't know.
but still,
You just
like,
call it dumb is what I would call it.
yeah.
But
I mean, but if you're putting it on a Bozu ball, like you're just that is dumb.
yeah.
Because
So
it's just not real life. Talk
yeah, I mean,
about functional. Like, when the fuck are you going to be wiggling around on one foot with a
yeah.
bell over your head?
Well, then people have, then it's something, but then some of them do work well, like a thruster or a push press or
Right.
like a sumo deadlift high pull or something like that, where you're
Power.
Those are power exercises. That's a little different. Like that's not a strength exercise, right? So yeah, when people are putting together, yeah, I think the lunge to bicep curl is probably your best one because yeah, you're absolutely just robbing your legs of what they can do, and then and if you're doing high reps of it, now you're doing high rep bicep curls. And then if you can do high rep bicep curls, you're probably not using heavy weight at all. And so it's just now it's a cardio exercise, and we should probably just go get on an air bike.
Yes, goes back to going just to do some cardio, and then being specific with your cardio training. Like,
Yeah.
Is it VO2 max? Is it zone 2? Is it just movement? Like just super recovery, whatever the fuck, no intensity, just moving. Great.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably like what comes top of mind for me, because I was somebody that used to do that kind of stuff in the gym because I really didn't know what else to do.
Yep.
Or that's what was popular for a really long
That was
time.
popular for a long time. Group fitness classes kind of make it popular,
But
especially.
like
I mean,
the magazine articles too, like the Cosmopolitan workout type 17 or whatever. Like we used to cut, rip out. I know you did like the bodybuilding ones, but
yeah.
those would be the ones in like the women's magazines.
Ooh, yeah. Mine were all meathead.
On your yoga mat with your 3-pound weights, like that type of.
Yeah. All right. So I want to talk about my next one that I don't do anymore that I used to do quite a bit of is high volume exercises that are meant to be power exercises. So these are things like
the thruster thing.
no, these are things like box jumps,
Oh yeah.
med ball slams, any kind of jumping or plyo or things like that. Just because they are meant to be explosive exercises. I think CrossFit's kind of the one that kind of made it, do 30 box jumps as fast as you can or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas if we were trying to do a jump, it's an explosive exercise. I want to see just a few of those at a time with a break in between. If we're doing med ball slams, I'd prefer them to be, now if you're just doing like a med ball, like pick up to your shoulder, that's a little bit different. But a med ball slam, again, is trying to be explosively powerful. So you don't need a ton of those, and you don't need the ball to be super heavy if your goal is to create speed. Now, again, like this is all in specificity to the sport of golf and to what I'm training for and for other athletes. If you are training for something like a Spartan or a CrossFit or High Rocks or whatever it is, that this is part of your sport, and that's something totally different. But for the way I'm training and what our goals are currently, that just doesn't serve me.
Yep. I'm here for that. Same thing with the burpee thing too, is just puts you under a lot of fatigue, makes you pretty sore. But if you're not getting sore and you're not getting fatigued, it means you're just conditioned for whatever sport that you're training for, if you're doing those things.
Right.
For sure.
And I
But
think,
yeah, from a power perspective, all of those movements are fantastic. If you're I'm loving like doing like box jumps, five at a time, but like really slow resets in between. Mm-hmm. And like just continuing to be powerful.
right.
Because at the end of the day, like if I needed to save myself or rescue myself, I get like 1 or 2 reps. Like that's how I think about like survival training. I don't know why I think about these things like as I age and get older. It's like I just need to be able to like fucking jump out of something or like,
Jump save my dog's life.
It's not going to be 78 times in a row. Hopefully. I mean,
Yeah, hopefully not.
Like who knows? But it is like, to be explosive and powerful is the only way to do it is to be doing 1 rep at a time. And you know that, obviously, because we do that with our athletes big time.
Yeah. And I think, I probably should have mentioned this like at the very beginning with the burpee or whatever, I think you've got to really think about what your goal is for doing that exercise. And this is, probably on your trainer a little bit, because if someone's just telling you what to do, it's not really your job to really think about that. You've already told your trainer what your goals are, right, and they should know, and they should be programming you exercises around your goal. But if the burpee or high rep box jumps, like if the goal is to get you fatigued and get you tired, okay, like what energy system are we tapping into? Is it aerobic? Is it anaerobic? What are we trying to accomplish here? What type of conditioning are we trying to get? Is it box jump conditioning because you are going to be required to do 30 box jumps? Okay, then there you are, right? Then you need to do 30 box jumps. But if it's just strictly we need a way to work on your conditioning, there's so many other ways you can do it. Probably the most safest would be to figure out some cardio machine that you have access to. It could be a rower, ski erg, air bike, bicycle. If you're decent at running, running causes a lot of people some problems, but if you're good at running, like go out and run maybe instead. So there's so many options if you just break down what it is you need to do, as opposed to, I think people like to get caught up in variety too. They're like, oh, well, I don't want to program this to my client every week because, they would get bored. But don't do that at the expense of them doing something that's not necessary and not valuable for their training.
Yeah.
You need to do a better job of educating them. Like, hey, sorry, here you work out at a home gym. You have one piece of cardio equipment, and I want to tax this system of your body. I'd much rather you do this than have you do 100 jumping jacks or get you on a jump rope or whatever it is, like whatever other option they have. You just got to explain that.
Totally. Totally. And plus, I mean, I just think tracking progress is so huge too. So the whole variety thing you have to be careful with in terms of just it's good. People like to see progress. So if they're jumping all over the place and doing different things every week, they don't know if they're getting better or not.
Yeah.
And I think like that's sometimes challenging to get clients to buy in. But once they do after a few weeks and start to see like, oh, okay, like I'm going to keep doing this. Like, this is good. I'm getting better at walking longer, jogging longer, being more powerful on the bike or whatever.
I mean, and then you as an athlete or a client kind of have to think about that. Like, do I really care that this 1 hour a day is going to have this constant stimulus entertainment value for me? Or do I really care that, hey, the 3 hours a week I'm going to spend doing this, it's going to make every other aspect of my life better? Why don't I just get this done and not rely on this to be my entertainment? So that way I can go do other things that are actually meant to be entertaining.
Yes, 100%.
Get your work done, do well, and don't just be like, hey, I'm tired of running. Can I do, 6 minutes of burpees instead of 6 minutes of running?
Yes.
If or swap out running for anything. I was just using that as an example, but
that's a good one. I have one more.
Let's go.
One more, and then I don't know how far you're going to go with this, but
we'll see.
For me, it's stretching at the beginning of a workout. Something else that I used to do or was like told to do, like for a long time.
For sure.
But first of all, like that started in like fucking elementary school gym.
Yeah.
Like stretching. But if I had to go back to like more like sports, we would stretch and stuff before playing like sports, like field hockey, like explosive running shit. We would stretch. We would warm up too. We would run. We would jog and stuff too. But like, man, we would stretch. And I look back on that and I'm like, that's not it.
No.
And then in my adult life, I started into that too. And it's like, static stretching is not it.
People still do it all the time.
They do it all the time. They do it to like fuck around. I kind of like forget that people do that to like, for me, I'm in the place of my life where I'm like, I am in the gym to work out. I want to be here as little as possible, like, and get the most out of my time here. Like just more from an efficiency, which again, I think is the majority of people that have kids and like work. Mm-hmm. You kind of like want to get in and get out. Not everyone has 2 hours to fuck around, right? So the part of like you have the people that just like skip doing like any type of mobility work or stretching at post workout. You also have the other set of people that dilly dally and kind of like to go roll on their foam roller. I'm gonna throw. Are you gonna talk about the foam roller? I may just throw foam roller in this, but just kind of like lollygagging for 20 minutes. You don't need to be doing that before your workout. Like you're better off going in and doing some efficient like warm-up sets for whatever exercise that you're doing, whether it's like a body weight and some lighter weight and like maybe some holds, than you are just like static stretching before workout. And scientifically speaking, it's also like truly like not the safest thing for you to be doing to be able to engage your muscles. Mm-hmm. They're stretching like rubber bands, and then they kind of like hold their elasticity a little bit, and then you're not as able to tap into your like hamstrings if you just sat there and did a forward fold for 2 minutes, like, and then all of a sudden you're trying to do like a heavy deadlift, like yikes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I still remember that when I worked at a place in Austin, and the lady who owned the place would tell people, as they're waiting out in the lobby for their next class to start, one's about to end and then they're just waiting till it's over so they can go in the room and get going. She's like, yeah, go ahead and start stretching, especially if it's like someone's first day. She's like, yeah, you can just go ahead and stretch over there, And that was always like what you told people, like, yeah, stretch. And like, yeah, dynamic stretching, but people don't think that. People don't know what that is.
They don't know what that is, and they also don't know what's programmed in the class. So that's kind of another problem that I have with it. The best thing, like if you are coming from sitting down at work or coming from your car, like walking, like not sitting down at the bench that you're waiting your class to start or in your car, at least be standing up, at least be standing up, at least be standing up and doing like, you could be doing some air squats, but you could be, if you don't have a place to like walk around for a little bit or pace, but like getting up and standing and walking, like if you truly like are just not sure what type of dynamic movements you need to be doing, or you're going into a group X class where you don't know what's going to be programmed, walk and warm up. Get on or a treadmill. Find a treadmill if it's in that class and go walk on it. Walk on an incline. Get your heart rate up or whatever. Getting your heart rate up for a group class is like most likely what you need to be doing anyway.
Yeah, my most recent guest on our podcast, Dr. Kyle Richmond, would probably tell people to do CARs, the controlled articular rotation. So like, we're talking about just anything that rotates. Like just move, like just get your like joints moving through big ranges of motion. Maybe it's like shoulder circles,
totally,
or maybe it's
overhead.
maybe it's wrist circles, or ankle circles, hip circles. Like just get things moving, and like I guess you could say get your joints lubricated. That's a fun thing to say, but
it's a fun thing to say.
But
makes sense.
you like just move that kind of stuff, right? And
that's sitting all day.
Yeah,
and so
and that doesn't require
anti-sitting.
And that doesn't require you to have space. Like if you're in a waiting room situation, you can do that type of stuff. And all you need is just a couple of feet. So if someone's in your bubble, then you're going to have, but if you have your own personal space where no one's like in an arm's length of you, you can do this stuff.
You can find some space to get warmed up a little bit.
What's interesting, I mean, so we talked, he's a specialist in some of this stuff, and we talked about foam rolling, like manual therapy, and how that's very short term. So like, if you are like say if you have super tight calves and it's restricting your ankle mobility, like before you squat, if you foam roll like right before you do it, it will help you, but then it quickly goes away.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like just a short term fix, but you've got to kind of address those things long term. But yeah, the just grabbing and holding and stretching is definitely not what you're looking for. There was a recent study I read about how there's stretch induced hypertrophy. So you can stretch like really hard and your muscles actually get bigger, but it's like you have to hold it for such a long time and it's really painful. It's kind of weird, but totally off track. But I thought it was fascinating to bring up.
Ugh.
Yeah, so like you can get bigger muscles by just stretching, and it's like stretching the shit out of them. Like apparently it really hurts.
It's probably tearing up your muscles as if you were doing heavy lifting.
Yeah,
like
it's pretty
micro
bizarre.
tears of your muscle fibers. I don't know, but it's kind of what it sounds like it's doing.
Yeah, and I don't even think you can do it on your own. You have to get a machine to do it.
Because your mind would stop yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's pretty wild. But yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, those are mine for today. I mean, those are mine. Those are the big ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll just
do anymore, but those are the big hitter ones that I think that are also sort of mythy out there, like that people still kind of do, and those are the ones I wanted to.
Yeah. Since we're on the top, I'll just wrap it up here. The things that we don't do anymore that I used to do Olympic weightlifting, like as part of when I did a lot of CrossFit, because once again, it was in the sport I was doing. I was never great at it. Because I'm strong, I could cycle barbells like pretty fast, but I could never, I never had a very big max. Like my 1 rep max snatch was never very good, or clean and jerk was never good. And I think there's a lot of people that come from doing Olympic weightlifting or maybe CrossFit that start training for golf. Like, hey, I want to do my Olympic weightlifts, my Olympic lifts. I'm like, how good were you? Like for that to carry over to speed as far as club head speed is concerned, I think you have to be extremely proficient in those exercises to create that type of speed that'll carry over. And in all my years of seeing like really, really good CrossFitters, I can only think of a handful ever that I saw that were probably good enough to do that. And I saw hundreds and hundreds of people do clean and jerks and snatches, and very, very, very small percentage were probably good enough. That's a move I don't do anymore.
Power clean, like for power,
the power clean,
it's pretty safe,
right?
And it's good to learn how to pop your hips. Like I still every once in a while will just do them because I like them, genuinely. But I think that they also kind of get you fired up. They fire up your explosiveness or whatever. So those translate very well to all kinds of athletes. So I think for golf, there can be a lot of value in just learning how to do the power clean, because it teaches people to squeeze their butt, find their hips, and all of that kind of good stuff. But yeah, the technical nitty gritty, from the floor to your hips over your head, we don't need to be doing the full Monty. We certainly don't need to be doing snatches with a barbell over your head necessarily.
Yeah, that's a good point. The two that would be beneficial instead of doing the full squat clean and jerk would be just a power clean into the hang power clean, and a power snatch.
Yeah.
Because then the technique to get down to a full squat and catch the bar is really just for that's just part of the technique to get you to lift heavier weights. Like, I don't think there's much more power necessarily, but there's definitely a much higher bar of technique.
Yes. Yeah. So, and again, we're coming from, I don't know. I mean,
I could be wrong, but
I know, I don't
that's what
know
it
a
is.
lot about the Olympic lifting the way that some people do, but like coming from just experience and how it's kind of supported my training, I do like
Yeah.
power cleans and dumbbell cleans can be great. Just
Yeah.
learning how to like pull some heavy weight up onto your shoulders.
I mean, I still program the dumbbell snatch. I program.
I like dumbbell snatches too.
Yeah,
haven't done
I
them in a
program the
while,
dumbbell
but-
snatch, and I program the sumo deadlift high pull, which is a bastardized version of a power clean.
Yeah, I guess I guess it is. I guess it is because of the hip thing.
Yeah.
I did some upright rows today. It makes me think of the sumo deadlift high pull. But
Man,
it's
I was
different
doing the other day
purpose.
with the barbell, and I forget you've got to pay attention, or else you're gonna give
Smack.
yourself right up in the chin.
Smack.
They used to call it when I used to watch the WWF back in the day, they call it sweet chin music. When you get like roundhouse kicked in the chin, they're like, "Oh, sweet chin music."
Ew, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck does that mean?
That you got kicked in the chin.
Sweet chin music means
Yeah.
that you get kicked in the chin.
I think it was Bret the Hitman Hart would just that'd be sweet chin music right in your.
That's right up there with Diaper Baby.
No, this is back WWF days. This is badass. If
Oh,
you got
you're so badass. Squat is tired.
yeah. Oh, Erica's. We're gonna go play golf today, and our tea time's coming up. So I think it's time to wrap this.
Oh, we are
wrap
wrapping
this
up.
up
I
today.
mean, hopefully this was helpful. We always just want to be helpful. I feel like I got a little fiery in the beginning, but we do always.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I wanted to make sure I put in there. Here's what I think you should do, because I don't want to sit here and just talk shit about a bunch of exercises. Like, here's what you should do. If you want power, instead of doing the clean and jerks and things like that, you can do like med ball slams, dumbbell snatches, like we talked about. You can do just jumps, right? And instead of high rep box jumps and high rep med ball slams, do low rep if your goal is power. At the beginning, burpee, it's like, hey, we kind of talked about that. If your goal is cardio, there's a lot of good ways to do cardio. Any cardio piece of equipment is a great one. And to your point, stop videoing, people that don't want to be videoed in the gym.
Yeah, be respectful at the gym, y'all. But I think our audience is respectful at the gym.
I guarantee it.
I really do believe that.
Yeah.
Just think there's a certain breed of people that just are out there not giving a fuck.
Yeah, we got good people.
Main character energy. I love that expression.
We got good people.
We certainly do. Guys, thank you for listening. CodyWescottGolf.com/links for your free trial, for our newsletter, for all of the things. CodyWescottGolf.com/links. And we will see you soon.
Thanks, guys.